Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Annie.
And it's me, Peter.
Even if you're just a casual or a mobile game player, join us every week and we rant, rave, and ramble about games that we like.
Or maybe we don't like.
Right now it's time to ask, what is this game? This week we're going to talk about Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So Peter, how has your experience been in this game so far?
It has been, to put it in a good way, it has been amazing. I can't come up with words to describe how much I have enjoyed this game.
How much time did you spend on the tutorial island?
On the tutorial island, I don't feel like I spent very much time. No, that's a lie. Because I skipped a step, so I went around in circles on the whole island trying to figure it out. So I went from this way to that way to that way, and then finally it was that's where the Temple of Time is. But I was too immersed in exploring the island and learning the mechanics and just exploring the world.
Yeah, when I was on the tutorial island, I was just spending most of the time just learning the new mechanics. So in Tears of the Kingdom, it's the follow-up to, what was it, 2017's Breath of the Wild?
I believe so.
So, Breath of the Wild was groundbreaking because it was the first Legend of Zelda to be really open world. There were other games that kind of experimented with the idea where you can kind of do things in different orders, but it wasn't necessarily ever open world. The game's always been very linear. So Breath of the Wild comes out, and you have nothing but this freedom to just go around, and if you see something in the distance, you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to head to that big tower, and you start walking to the tower, and before you know it, you've stumbled upon this thing, and it might take you a couple days to reach the tower because you get distracted by monsters over there or a cave you found, and it's the epitome of exploration.
I have referred to it a lot of times as full of ADHD landmines.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's a great description.
Because I have just decided every once in a while, I am going to go to the next Skyview tower. And I end up, I think my first couple hours was I was trying to find all the towers, get all the map discovered so I can see where I'm going.
Yep, that was my first goal. As soon as I got off the tutorial island, I land on the ground and I'm like, all right, how do I get my map?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So I never go the way that they intend you to, because I assume as soon as you leave the tutorial island, you're supposed to go to Lookout Landing, because you're supposed to go to Lookout Landing to meet Purah and all the people, all the main characters, and that's where you get your paraglider. And I didn't know that. I spent about 40 hours in the game just running around without my paraglider, and I'm like, oh, well, it's pretty challenging, but it's okay, whatever. I just have to get used to fall damage.
That was funny because I had a similar experience where I was like, I'm going to go do my own thing and I'm just going to go explore. And I didn't get the paraglider until I was maybe 10 hours in, because I have only played about 40 hours. So my experiences are a fraction of your experiences. Mm-hmm. But I spent 10 hours without the glider and I was like, this is really challenging, like you said. And then finally I got it and I was like, oh, thank God I could not play this game without the glider.
Oh yeah, it instantly changed the way I approached anything. Because before I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to get down there? I guess I can climb down the tower. Nope, I don't have enough stamina. It was challenging, and I don't know why I didn't just figure out, hey, where's the paraglider?
Right.
It would have saved me a lot of struggle.
Oh, I agree. It became a lot of Skyrim billy goating everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever played Skyrim, you try to climb up a mountain, you try to find the path.
Exactly, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
You try to make it as easy as possible because you have no stamina. So that's the first thing I did besides going for each of the towers. So in the game, it's like Skyrim. It's like any open world game where you have to go and, well, you don't have to, but it's the optimal decision to go and find these little towers that are throughout the map. And when you go to the tower, it unlocks the map for you, so you can see locations and it's not just a blurry mess. So it's pretty vital for you at the beginning of the game to go to all these towers. Now, from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom, they kind of made the process a lot easier, because in Breath of the Wild, you had to climb up to the tower, and then you would get to the top of the tower, and then you would activate it, and then you get the map because you climb up the tower. In Tears of the Kingdom, they've upgraded the towers, so they're now like big old cannons. They shoot you up into the sky, because in Tears of the Kingdom, there's all these sky islands up there, and plenty of places for you to explore up in the sky. So that is the fastest and easiest way to get into the air, is just go to a tower, walk inside, and shoot yourself into the sky. And that is the new process of making your maps. Whenever you're up in the sky, you like scan it and survey it, and then you download the map by, using your camera, which is a cooler process than just scanning map data through a tower, in my opinion.
I think so too. I think it's very intuitive, and it's very, I guess not intuitive is not the word, but like, it's just so much better. It's more real. Instead of like this weird crystal dripping information onto your tablet,
Exactly.
You're actually going out and scanning it.
The cutscene is cool, and I like that you can't skip it, because it's a good cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
I like that I wish I had a clip of it, but you're scanning and surveying the tower, and you have like it's essentially a USB cord connected to your little tablet thing, and you get
like
launched
the longest USB cord ever.
Yeah, right, and you have like a little cable winder to retract it and stuff. So you just fly up into the sky with this long USB cord, and then you see like the light go from the tower up to your tablet, and then once your tablet scans it, the light goes from your tablet all the way down back to the tower. And I think that's a really cool touch, because it goes from orange to blue to signify, the change in tech, or I don't know, status, I guess.
Mm. It's definitely awesome. It's definitely an upgrade from what we had before. And it definitely shows like the ever-changing world that Link lives in. Like, the people are coming out of hiding from before with Calamity Ganon, and they are reclaiming the world. And I think that's so freaking cool.
The sky towers are also great for getting to other sky towers, because you can shoot yourself up into the sky, and as soon as you get the paraglider, you can just glide as far as you want. And if you have stamina food, you can literally glide as far as gravity will allow you.
That's what I did for a long time, is like, I was like, ooh, I just got a tower. Let me go get into the tower. While I'm up here, might as well.
And while you're up in the sky, you can pull out your tablet and like scope all of the shrines and stuff that you see in the air. And you're like, ooh, that looks interesting. Ooh, that looks interesting. And I don't know what your map looks like, but in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you have a I would say customizable map, because you have a bunch of little pins and stamps that you can put on the map to tell yourself where things are and what things are. There's like a sword symbol, a pot symbol, a skull symbol, a chest symbol, a diamond, a heart, a star, and I feel like there's one more. And then there's 6 colored pins. The pins function differently than the stamps. The pins, they emit a giant a beam of light in the sky whenever you're aiming down your scope, so you can kind of use them as waypoints. They also persist through the map no matter which layer you're on, so your pins are a lot more valuable than your stamps. You only have 6 pins, but you have 300 stamps. I have already used about 200 of my stamps. And
oh my God.
I have to sometimes go, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't need that anymore. I'm going to unstamp that, because otherwise I'm going to run out of stamps, and it's going to be inconvenient. At the beginning of the game, I was using the diamond stamp to just stamp every shrine that I knew the location of. I would just stamp. And okay, I don't want to get into any spoiler territory, but have you been into the underground part?
I have.
Okay, so down there, there's these things called light roots, which are just essentially underground tree things that you go and interact with, and then they will light up the area. Because underground, underneath Hyrule, is very dark, and it's hard to see for the most part. So you want to go and light it up for the best part. Otherwise, you have to carry around things that can help you light it up, like consumable foods that help you glow, or you can get special armor, or you can throw around a bunch of bright bloom seeds to help you.
I have no idea how many bright bloom seeds I have shot into the void down there, but it has been in the hundreds.
Those are so useful. I like that. I love that they included the option to just simply throw items. In Breath of the Wild, you had the item or the option, sort of. So you could go into your inventory and you could press, I believe it was X, to hold. And then you could select up to 5 items to put into your hand. And then you had the option to either like drop them or you could like long toss them. But you could never really throw anything.
Right, it was never aggressive.
So you could use that mechanic to lure enemies or toss up a choo-choo jelly for a trap. It was kind of archaic. But in Tears of the Kingdom, you can ready to throw your weapon, and then instead of throwing your weapon, you can switch to any of your items and throw any of your items at monsters. And it is super useful for setting up all sorts of combos and making combat kind of however you want it to. And you can use that to throw the bright bloom seeds instead of having to waste your bow or your arrows, because every time you fire an arrow, it wastes the durability of your bow.
Very true. But I was always like, I could throw it or I could launch it. And I was always like, I need the range. Because like I had to walk to the edge. It was just a way to make sure that I covered more area with less bright bloom seeds.
I found out about a couple of hours of being underground that the shrines above ground line up almost exactly with the ones underground. So if you know where a shrine is, it very, very likely will line up exactly where one of the light roots are. So you can just toggle between the middle map and the lower map and just kind of match it up. So if you know where a light root is, you know where a shrine is. If you know where a shrine is, you know where a light root is. I know I just repeated myself, but...
No, but I need the repetition because I was like, what? You blew my mind in the first minute.
The sky ones don't line up at all, but the ground and the underground ones are almost 1-to-1.
Oh, that's so cool. I need to write that down somewhere.
I found that clip I was talking about throwing things.
Very cool.
And throwing things, you can throw them pretty dang far, so it's definitely a viable option. And it does damage depending on what you throw. And you can throw bombs, you can throw ice fruits, fire fruits, and it is so useful. Some of the time I don't even carry a weapon around because I just use my bow in throwing items.
It's definitely more efficient. Like you were telling me about how you do that to like save durability on your weapons.
Yeah, and that clip was kind of a demonstration. Yeah, I didn't want to hit the guy a second time because it would have wasted a hit on my hammer. So I just threw a tooth or a claw or something at him and killed him with that.
I love that kind of insult to injury. It's like, I'm going to beat you with this awesome magic sword, and then, oh, you're not dead? Let me just flick you.
I wonder if this is the clip. So have you ever fought one of these things? It's called a Gleeok. I tried to kill it and it just fell right off the cliff.
Oh my god. I am so filled with envy right now because I have run into like so many Gleeoks and I'm like, oh, I can't fight you. I haven't gotten my armor upgraded. I don't have cool weapons yet. You're such a cool boss, but I cannot even come close to hurting you.
Yeah, most of the time I'm way under... Like, I don't think I could have killed... And apologies to the viewers. I realized that my mic has been muted during the last couple of clips, so you couldn't hear my commentary, and the clips were also loud. So I'll try to get that adjusted in the future. This is my first time using StreamYard. But to address that clip, I don't think I could have killed that Gleeok if he wouldn't have accidentally fallen off the cliff. He was up in the sky, and I hit him, and I stunned him, and he just hits a rock and just falls right off the sky island. And I thought, during the clip, you can see me pan the camera down to the falling 3-headed dragon, and I'm like, is he gonna start flying? Is he gonna start flying? Nope.
Yeah,
he hits the ground, and there's a second clip, but I didn't upload it. He hits the ground and dies, and then the chest over here in the back just like changes colors from purple to gold to symbolize I can open it. I'm just like, okay, I get the chest, but what about all that loot?
Right? That's exactly. I love that you and I are in sync with that, because I was thinking the same thing watching
What about
that
my
clip.
loot?
Like, what happens to all the Gleeok loot now? Like, do I have to go down and get that? Is it despawned? Like, what happened?
And I can't just snipe rewind it, because if it died down there, that's where the parts dropped. I can't rewind a corpse because the corpse is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of rewinding is one of the most useful tools in the game. There's the option to levitate things and rotate them in the air, like telekinesis. You have the option to fuse things together with weapons to make them powerful. You can fuse objects together. You could make like a tank, literally. But I think rewind is the most useful tool, because it can solve almost anything really simply. I'm going to play another clip here of me solving a puzzle, and it's funny because I solved it before the NPC even realizes what's happening.
Yeah.
So I start off by casting rewind right on the floor, and then I talk to him, and he's like, oh, hey, the elevator's broken. If you could put some weight up there, and there's already a ton of weight fused to the pulley system. He's like, if you could pull, set the weight up there, we could get this elevator working. So I'm just talking to him, and I'm like, yep, okay. And then as soon as we stop talking, the elevator just goes to the top. And I'm like, like that?
Is that what you meant?
Is that what you meant? Is that what you wanted me to do?
I forget, but there was I don't have a clip for it, but there was a quest where you have to get the musicians together to get the Great Fairies. To get the Great Fairies activated, and there's this one where the guy's like stuck in a hole, and he has all the stuff to get himself out of the hole.
I think I do have a clip for that.
Oh, thank God!
Here. So, like Peter said, there's guy's in a hole, his cart's in a hole, and he's like, hey, I need to get my cart out of the hole. And Peter says he has all the stuff, so I'm building this, like, raft underneath his cart and filling it with rockets. And I'm like, all right, well, you need your cart out of the hole. Here the fuck we go. So I'm selecting a weapon because I don't want to waste my durability. And I'm like, all right, here we go. And I launch it to the moon. And the guy's like, wait, no, don't take my wagon.
So I love your creativity, because that is not at all how I went about it.
I shot it out with a bunch of rockets.
And I wish I would have thought of that, because that is perfect, top tier gaming right there. I just strapped the hot air balloons to it, and I was like, okay, we're just gonna float up.
Oh, just leisurely. Woo.
Yeah, just leisurely, like kind of like woo. Just Mary Poppins it out.
Since you've completed the quest, it's not a spoiler. What does he do with his wagon? You get it out of the hole, and he's like, oh, thanks, sweet. I think I'm gonna go rejoin my band. And he goes to rejoin the band, but the band already has a wagon called Breezer. It's got its own name. It's got its own story. It's part of the band. Does he just sell his wagon? Like, does he just fucking leave it on the side of the road?
Probably.
Not to poke holes in a tiny little plot. It's a fucking Nintendo game, but he had a whole mission about how his wagon's important to him, and then he never has his wagon again.
I think the wagon was only important in terms of getting him back to the stable, and then after that, he was done with it.
He didn't have a horse, though, either. Was he pulling his wagon by himself?
Oh, definitely. Like rickshaw mode. 100%. I don't understand why he pulled the wagon. It doesn't look like he had any cargo in the wagon, but he wanted that wagon.
Oh, he said he was carrying...
Wagon.
I think he said he was carrying, like, food and stuff, but it went bad. I don't remember.
So again, he has nothing in the wagon.
Yep.
I bet you it was a rental wagon. I think that's what it was.
NPCs are dumb. And, that's not a big surprise. But along the lines of solving things before you solve them, um, in one of the stables, there is an old man who wants to see a skeleton horse, and I'm just traveling through the field, and it's at night, and I see the skeleton horse, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I just, grab my camera and I snap a picture of it, just in case, in case I don't see one again for a while. It's nice to have it in your camera photo. Mm-hmm. What is it called? Compendium. It's nice to have it in your compendium. Yes. But I mount the horse, and I'm like riding it around, and then I see the stable, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I walk up, and I of course try to board the horse because I wanted to make sure, it's just. In Breath of the Wild, you couldn't have the skeleton horse, but I wanted to see if maybe I could have it in Tears of the Kingdom. So I go over there, and the guy's like, I don't know what that is, but I don't want it. And I'm like, all right, fair enough, stable man. And then I walk over to this...
your demon horse somewhere else.
And then I walk over to this old man. And he says, hey, have you heard about this skeleton horse? And I'm laughing in real life here, which is why the clip is taking so long to go forward. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard of this skeleton horse. He says, if you take the road north, they say night after night, the skeleton horse will appear. Wow, that'd be really interesting to see one. And I'm like, looking at him, I'm on the damn horse. So it gives me the quest, the horse guard request. And then immediately he's like, where's that, the skeleton horse? Yeah, it is.
When did you get a skeleton horse? When did that happen?
Holy shit, did your horse just turn into a skeleton? No, it's been that way.
Oh my god. It's a tale as old as time. NPCs are always going to be dumb. And nothing has changed here in Tears of the Kingdom, in that sense.
That's definitely true.
Because I don't know how many times I have, going back to the musicians and the fairies, and the great fairies, I have tipped over that wagon so many times while we were almost there. And I'm like, why can't we just flip the wagon? We're right there.
Yeah, why can't you just get back in the wagon? Because you got a little bit of dirt on your shoes, now you have to go all the way back to the stable to clean yourself? What?
You're real posh musicians now, aren't you, huh? Mm-hmm. Can't get a little dirt on your shoes? Not part of the peasantry by any means.
So what is one of the ways you solved getting... okay, so there's one where you have to get the wagon across a creek, or like a little river, because the bridge is out.
I don't think I did that one yet. I've read up on it, but I don't think I did that one.
Okay. Did you do the one where you have to travel through the snow?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
So how did you solve that one?
I take the simplest approach to these things. I just duct tape a plywood board to the top of it. And I'm like, you have a roof now, peasants. You're good.
I overthought it the first time. So I was like, okay, well, I want it to look fancy. So I grabbed one of those like bird glider things and I put it on the top. I'm like, okay, cool. Now it's got like a fancy roof. And then I'm like, oh wait, let me turn it upside down so the snow can fall off of it because it's slightly curved. I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. And then I look at the wheels and I'm like, oh, they might get stuck in the snow. So I attached some of the little sleds to the bottom of the wheels, so they could go through the dirt easier or the snow easier. And then I grab my horse and I attach the towing harness to it and I start dragging it through the snow and I'd slide in, no problem. And we're going and I'm like trying to go around the mountain and suddenly the glider thing on the top starts blinking green. And then I remember, oh crap, they can only move a certain distance before they fade. So I'm like panicking because the glider that is the roof of the cart is starting to melt. And I'm just like, no, get to the fountain.
Which is the crux of the whole mission. Like, all they wanted was a roof.
Yeah, and now the roof is about to disintegrate. Yeah, I totally screwed them. And suddenly the roof just... And the fat guy, Maestro, is just like, ah! What happened to our roof? Well, we have to go back to the stable now. I got snow on my mustache.
Right, my precious mustache. It could never be sullied by the peasant snow.
I love the just ways you can solve it because right after that, like you said, I just slapped some plywood on the top and I was like, "This is it." I fucked the sled. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna drag it. I just grabbed my strongest horse and I'm just gonna drag this thing. I overthought it the first time and went completely simple the second time.
That's okay. That's engineering 101. The simplest solution is usually the best.
Speaking of solutions, so in some of the shrines, there is multiple ways to solve almost all the shrines in the game. And the shrines, for anyone that doesn't know, are little mini puzzles. You solve the mini puzzle and you get a token, and 4 of those tokens you can use to upgrade your stamina or your health bar. So it's important to do these shrines if you want to max your statistics. So in some of the shrines, you have to take an object through the shrine and then bring it to like for example, bring a ball and put it in a slot, and then the slot will open the end so you can get your upgrade. In some of the shrines, if you're creative enough, you can skip the whole puzzle, and here's a great example of that. So I just built myself several platforms together and attached the ball to the end of it, and then I just rotated it up to this platform up here, and I was like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I can just skip the whole thing here. I climbed to the top, I grab the ball off of the thing that I've made, and I just slam it right into the slot, completely skipping the entire shrine.
Oh my god. That is beautiful. A work of art if I've ever seen one.
That's how I solve a lot of things. It's just, I can't remember the name of it. The hand ability, where you grab things.
The Ultra Hand, I believe.
I thought Ultra Hand is the one where you glue things together. That's the same ability. Yeah, okay.
That's the same ability.
Alright, I'm silly.
You're good. I want to segue into something that I've seen all over the internet, and it is the just terrible abuse that's been happening to the Koroks. I'm guilty of it too. I have dragged a couple Koroks behind my horse too. Don't get me wrong. I've
not done the only abuse I've done for 2 Koroks is the same that I did in Breath of the Wild. In some of the Korok little like challenges, I guess, whatever you want to call them, you just pick up a boulder and they're underneath the boulder, and then as soon as they give me the token, I just drop the boulder right on their head. That's the most abuse I usually do to them. But in Tears of the Kingdom, there is a new Korok challenge where there's like a Korok that has a really fat backpack, and he's tired and he can't reach his friend who's in a different location. And you can use different methods to carry, or in your case, drag the Korok with your horse to its location. You just glue it to a machine and you're like, let's go.
Oh, I don't know how many times I've glued them to machines, but I've had them strapped to rockets. I've put them in the top of hot air balloons. I've flown them on gliders, and I love that little side quest that they give you for that, because it just puts your ingenuity and creativity to the test. They give you little bits and parts. You're expected to carry your own parts, obviously, and you just go at it. Like, build a machine that will get this Korok to that point. And I have had many times where I didn't have any parts, so I just had to walk the Korok. But there's been a good amount of times where I've built a super tank, and I'm like, let's go, little Korok, let's go on a rampage. But I've seen people on the internet just like terrible things to these Koroks. Like, the Koroks have been crucified.
I've seen them be literally crucified.
And I'm just like, why? And then I get a stupid little quest from a Korok, and I'm like, I'm not saying that I would crucify a Korok, but I get it.
But you get it.
But I get it. Because sometimes those quests they're just annoying. And the Korok seed is just poop. So, I'm doing all this work for their poop.
And, it's some of them are tedious, but it's sad that it's kind of a necessity. For those unaware, the Korok seeds are needed to upgrade your inventory slot. So if you want to carry more melee weapons, shields, or bows, you need to collect these Korok seeds, which are just stupid little tedious challenges. Like, these 3 rocks have apples on them. You put one on the 4th one, and boop, now you have a Korok seed. Put this boulder on top of this stick, and you have a Korok seed. Move this boulder into this pattern over here, and you have a Korok seed. They're so simple, but once you learn like which ones are which, you can spot them from a mile away. You see like a little pinwheel sitting on a log in the middle of a forest. You're like, that's a Korok seed. You see a rock just on the middle, like on the top of a mountain plateau, just in the center, just alone. You're like, that's a Korok seed.
Mm-hmm. I've had ones where there's a lot of them where you just dive into a ring of flowers in a pond. You plug the little puzzle piece into the little pyramid. Or
Oh,
what
I
have
like that
you.
one because it came from Breath of the Wild. You used to; those were straight from Breath of the Wild, where you like
Mhm.
match up the blocks to make a shape in it. Yeah, I like those ones.
And it's just like they're fine. They're quick little like brain teasers that you get through in like 5 seconds.
Right. Yeah,
And then-
most of them aren't challenges at all, but it's nice to just have a break and just do a little tiny little puzzle. The other ones I don't like are there are some where if you're underground, there will be like a tree stump on the roof, and it's got little arrows on it, and it kind of signifies that you're supposed to use ascend on it. And if you use ascend on this log and go like through the log to the top of it, and then pop out, you'll get a Korok seed. Now, that's great, but if you want to be underground where you are, you have to save that activity for last. Otherwise, you're going to have to ascend through the ground to the top and then go back down into the cave where you were. So those
Definitely.
ones do kind of break the pacing, which kind of bother me, but
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's like I could save it for later, but I'm not going to remember where that is because, unlike you, I don't mark the map very much. So I'm just going to forget where that is, or I'm going to do it and fall into an ADHD landmine where I'm like, okay, I guess I'm done underground. I guess I'm going to go above ground and go do stuff there. It does break up the pacing, and that is bothersome.
Most of them are fine. Most of them is just stop for a second, shoot a couple arrows, pick this up. But yeah, I don't like the ones where you have to move locations. That's why, for the most part, the Koroks with the backpacks, I hit them with a pin, switch the pin to a leaf. The leaf, that's the last stamp I forgot. Yeah, just put a leaf stamp on the location, and I'm like, I'll come back to this eventually. Because eventually I'm going to need more Korok seeds, and I'm going to have to scour my map for all the leaves that are on it.
Definitely. I am the complete opposite of that, and I'm like, I gotta get this Korok over there now, because I'm not going to remember this, I'm not going to care later.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think I've only ever marked one Korok, where I was out of arrows, and I was like, I will come back and shoot this balloon. That was maybe at the beginning of the Zora domain.
Mm-hmm.
I am all the way in Gerudo Desert on my third boss, and I still haven't done it. So for me, it's like I got to do them in the moment, or I will forget and I will not care.
I haven't
will not go
tried it, but what I think would be really cool is if you could craft arrows using Mega Hand. So throw a bundle of logs on the ground, throw some flint, and whatever you need for fletching. So like any monster part that Arakuda wings or anything like that,
Oh yeah.
Throw those 3 parts on the ground, Mega Hand them together, and then hit it with an axe, and then boop, you have a bundle of arrows. That would be awesome.
That would be a good idea, because something I am consistently running out of is arrows.
I never run out of arrows. I'm a hoarder. Anytime I'm at a stable, I buy Beetle out completely. I buy him. I'm like, hey, give me all your arrows. And he's like, wow! And then on the regular, I travel to Terrytown. I
love Terrytown.
Do you have the travel medallion?
The travel medallion. I don't think so.
So the travel medallion was a DLC from Breath of the Wild. I believe it came with the Trial of the Master Sword. I think it came with the second DLC.
Okay.
It gave you a little necklace that was in your key items that allowed you to place a fast travel point. So if you're out in the wild and you're suddenly like, oh, I need to go cook. So you could just place your travel medallion on the ground, fast travel to a stable, cook all your meals, and then fast travel back to your medallion location.
Oh, that is insanely powerful. I
Very,
love that.
very useful. Before Tears of the Kingdom came out, I literally told my friends, I was like, I really, really hope that they bring back the DLC mechanics. Even if they make me have to pay for them again, I don't care. The travel medallion is irreplaceably useful. So, you get the travel medallion from Robbie, if you know who Robbie is.
I don't recall who Robbie is right now. Is he in Terrytown?
No, Robbie is the little Sheikah man with the goggles.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
If you do his quest line, you'll get the upgrades for your Purapad. I almost wanted to call it the Sheikah Slate, but that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, I got you. I got to look into that because Robbie, I've seen maybe twice in my gameplay, and I'm like, you probably don't do anything for me.
You should definitely get the Travel Medallion. If you don't get the other upgrades, I mean, it's whatever. But the Travel Medallion is super useful because Tarrytown does not have a fast travel point. It's got a couple around it. It's got a tower. It's got 2 shrines, but none of them are in Tarrytown. So I just placed a Travel Medallion right on the goddess statue. So Tarrytown Medallion now has 2 uses for me. Anytime I need to turn in the spirit orbs, I can just fast travel there and talk to the statue, or I can turn around and go talk to the guy that breaks down items, or the guy that sells arrows and bombs. Anytime in Tarrytown, I buy arrows and bombs. And that guy refreshes. I don't know if it's daily in-game, but he is always stocked.
Okay. Tips and tricks that I just got to write down.
Tarrytown's useful. Yeah, get your travel medallion and go to that. That's the only real tip I'm going to give you, because if you're out of arrows, that's shitty. Right now, I think I have 600 arrows.
That's insane.
Yeah, I never run out of arrows. I'll run out of bows before I run out of arrows.
Oh my god, I don't think I've ever surpassed 100 arrows because I'm constantly shooting things. I love the bow and arrow mechanics.
The bow and arrow mechanics is the greatest. I was worried because in none of the promotional materials did they show the slow-mo bow mechanic from Breath of the Wild. And anyone that's not familiar, in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, whenever you draw your bow in midair or while falling or gliding or anything, time will drastically slow down. I think to 10% speed. And you can shoot so many, as long as you have stamina, time will be drastically slowed down and you can just keep dinking people in the head with your arrows. So that's even another reason to go get your stamina wheel maxed first, is because if you're you can just climb to the top of a tree and then jump out of the tree and just pew, 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 and just knock people right off. It's really great. The bow mechanics are perfect. Do you use the gyro controls on the Switch?
I do not. I hate the gyro controls.
I hate the gyro controls on anything except in, what is it called? The handheld mode. Where both of the Joy-Con are on the screen and you're holding it in your hand. That's the only time I like gyro controls. If I have the controller in my hand or just the Joy-Con split apart or anything, I don't want the gyro control. In Super Mario Odyssey, which we're not going to get into, but in Super Mario Odyssey, that is one of the options. Hey, do you want gyro controls? Yes. Okay, when do you want gyro controls? All the time? In this mode, this mode, this mode, or this mode? And I said, only handheld mode. I don't want gyros ever other than that. But I like the gyro controls in Tears of the Kingdom because let's be honest, the Joy-Con joysticks are pretty lackluster. They're kind of the worst joysticks on the market.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're kind of notorious for that. So whenever aiming, especially over very small distances, I find it easier to just slightly tilt left and right. Especially if I'm in this chair right here, I can use the chair to aim. I don't know, it just makes it a lot more fine-tuning. It makes headshots a lot easier.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from, and I am guilty of using it every so often, but there'll be times where it's on while I'm set up on my TV using my controller, and I'm because I'm an old school gamer, so I'm
yeah, so you're literally moving.
It actually does something, so I'm I cannot aim with trying to fine tune it with the joystick, and every jerk and every movement throws it off. I'm just get rid of that.
I wish the gyro also had a sensitivity scale.
Definitely. But I'm a total motion control atheist. I don't like motion controls. I've never liked them. I still don't like them. It's just
I really like motion controls. A game that sold it for me 100% was in the same series that we're talking about, actually. Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword was the first Legend of Zelda game to fully implement the movement. In Twilight Princess, for the Wii, you had the option to just, flick your wrist to swing, or you could press the A button, if I'm not mistaken. But in Skyward Sword, you had to have what was called the Wii Motion Plus. It was
Right.
either an add-on plug-in to your standard Wiimote, or you had to buy an upgraded Wiimote that had it built in. So whenever I bought Skyward Sword, I bought the upgraded Wiimote, and I found the move. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but for the time, it was pretty awesome to just be basically like be Link. Just hold the sword and be like, oh, whoa. And
No, that was
was
definitely cool in that game.
It was a core mechanic, the Skyward Slash. You would hold your sword up in the sky and like charge it up like He-Man, and then you would bam shoot your laser beam sword. It was great. I really liked that. There's not a lot I liked about that game, but that game kind of pioneered Breath of the Wild because there's so many mechanics that were in Skyward Sword that were kind of mid that were absolutely perfected in Breath of the Wild. Perfect example is the stamina wheel.
Oh yeah, it's true. They did have the stamina wheel.
You and I were talking about the stamina wheel the other day, and the stamina wheel is a perfect
Most beautiful
piece of it UI. It's so beautiful. It conveys so much information so easily, so quickly. You never don't know how much stamina you have. Never. You might not know the exact percentage, but you don't need to. You know, okay, I got this much or this much.
It's definitely amazing, and I love it to death. And I love how little screen real estate it occupies. I love that meter. And I've never said that about anything. I've never thought so hard about UI in my life. But then you had brought it up the other day, and I was like, you know what? The stamina wheel is top tier UI.
Yeah, it's absolutely
perfect. I can't argue that.
Yeah, it's perfect. I don't think... The reason I know it's perfect is because it's one of the only things that was not changed from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom. There are so many things that were just slightly tuned to make the game better. The stamina wheel wasn't even touched. Not even a little bit. Everything else... Like, they made hearts smaller so you could have more on your health bar. That was a change. Another change is... I don't know if you noticed this, but it's a huge quality of life feature. When you're swimming now, stamina is... It's like 50% of the cost that it was in Breath of the Wild. When swimming in Breath of the Wild, you could drown all the time because you just run out of stamina. Especially if you're doing the like dash swim where you like kick and go quicker. You would drown constantly. But in Tears of the Kingdom, the stamina cost is like cut in half. And if you're out of stamina, like if you're paragliding over a pool of water and you run out of stamina while you're paragliding...
Yes, it gives you a little bit of like grace stamina.
Exactly. In Breath of the Wild, you would drown instantly if you fell in the water.
Yeah, you were done.
But in Tears of the Kingdom, you fall in the water and Link is like, okay, I got a second wind. I need to get to land right now. It's not a lot of stamina, but if you're close enough to a ledge, you can save yourself instead of having to fall back down. Because the way falling into pits or water and drowning works is you will respawn at your last location. So the last location that was safe and both of your feet were touching the ground. So if you flew across the whole map and then drowned in a puddle of water, you're going to have to fly across the whole map again because you didn't touch the ground.
You're done. Circling back to Skyward Sword, I really appreciate in this game how they've kind of embedded that game back into Legend of Zelda. They tried to give it... Like, they recognized that like Skyward Sword did not do so well on its own. So it's like, we're going to take a lot of what worked in that game and we're going to bring it to our amazing title of Breath of the Wild and make Tears of the Kingdom. I love the little thematic touches they added from that game. Because I remember opening it up and being on the Sky Islands and I was like, Skyward Sword. Interesting.
Skyward Sword...
Instantly.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I just, like, instantly I was, like, reminded of Skyward Sword and Skyloft and all those different things.
I haven't been everywhere in the sky, but it would be really nice to see a nod to Skyloft. Just something. Because... Definitely. As far as the Legend of Zelda timeline is concerned, it has been stated very, very solidly. Skyward Sword is the first game. It kind of starts the whole story. It's the first Zelda. It's where the Master Sword is created. The Master Sword was invented in that game. It's like the first game, and then you fast forward all the way to the Breath of the Wild, and it has been also confirmed that as the end of the timeline. Now, because of the way the timeline works, after Ocarina of Time,
Yes.
it splits into three major timelines. There's obviously also split timelines from those ones, but three massive timelines. The one where Link dies, the one where Link wins and goes back as a kid, and the one where Link stays as an adult after he beats Ganon, and just kind of. Oh, what? No, that one was discontinued. So the second one, or the third one, I mean, is when he goes back in time, but doesn't be the hero of time after going back in time. So the second timeline is where he goes back in time, and then that's Majora's Mask is the follow-up from that.
Mm-hmm.
The first one where he loses is the one where Wind Waker happens.
I believe it's Wind Waker, yes.
Yeah, because the apocalypse is full on forever, and then Hyrule gets flooded, and a bunch of bad shit happens.
Oh, yeah.
But, so it's not clearly stated which of these timelines Breath of the Wild is at the end of. So you can kind of pick and choose, but no matter what, Skyward Sword is at the beginning. So it's really nice, circling back, that they are touching to the fact that Skyward Sword, hey, remember this game? You know how it's cool and canon? Yeah. There's a scene where Zelda is talking about the Master Sword, and she refers to it as she. And I'm like, yeah, she's talking about Fi. I hate Fi, but Fi is real. Fi is a thing. Fi exists. Okay, I hate Fi, but Fi is real. She is a person.
Like, yay for continuum of lore, but ugh for Fi.
I really don't want her to talk in this game. I've not had it spoiled or anything, but I hope Fi does not make an appearance, because I don't need that. Link, I'm exactly 70% happy to see you. It's like, cool, great. I'm 0% happy.
Oh my god. I've only heard tales of Fi, because I've never played Skyward Sword. But just, if that's the interactions I'm getting, I'd rather her just stay as my sword.
Yep. Yeah, I don't need her to talk.
That's like Navi. I never want Navi to come back.
No. The only companion I'll take is Midna.
Yes.
Midna was cool.
Midna was cool.
She's also hot.
I was gonna say, I didn't know if we were gonna go there, but yes, Midna turns out to be really hot at the end of that game.
Mommy, I mean Midna.
If we're talking about hot characters, then we gotta talk about Purah's glow up.
Oh my god, here. Okay, I got a clip.
Hey. That looks interesting.
God damn, is she good looking? She's like looking me up and down, and I'm like, yeah, say it, pan back to her. Ooh, damn. God damn, girl, look at them titties. And then she takes off her goggles, and then she got some sexy ass eyeshadow. She got no reason being this fine. She went from being like an old lady to a kid, and I'm like, okay, well, you're a weird person.
Well, whatever.
And then in this game, she just comes out and she's like, bam, I'm hot, and I'm like, hi.
Zelda
hi.
who?
Who's Zelda went at now? What now?
Right? Like who's Zelda again?
Yeah, she's not even around. So like, hey, you know what? You want to go like hang out? I know where a really cool pond is that's shaped like a heart.
Do you need help with your inventions? I can help you with your inventions. Like I can be your bitch monkey.
Yeah, give me a quest.
Whatever you need.
Give me a quest, please. Can I do something,
give me
please?
all the quests.
I want to spend as much time with you as I can. She's great. I love all of the returning characters because it's been a long time since I've played Breath of the Wild. So coming back to this game, it's really nice because what's his name? Bolson from Tears.
Oh yes, Bolson.
Bolson's not in the, as far as I know, Bolson's not in Tears of the Kingdom. I guess he quit or went off and got married to a guy and lived happily ever after. But in Tears of the Kingdom, it turns out that Hudson gets promoted, and now he's running the whole construction company, and he's like running the revitalization throughout the whole kingdom. And I'm like, dang, You went from just being like this weird bowl-cutted lackey guy to running the entire construction industry. That's a big promotion.
Oh, I want to tell you something, but I can't. 'Cause
No, you can.
Bolson is totally in the game.
Fuck yeah! I gotta find Volson then.
Bolson is in the. I won't tell you where, but Bolson is in the game.
That's
he plays like a very like important side role.
Awesome! I'm so
Like,
hyped about that.
He has his own little side quest line that you have to complete, where he's very important and instrumental in that side quest. But he is not in the main story, or he is not like in the spotlight. But when you find him, it's like Bolson.
Exactly. Whenever I refine characters, and I'm like, oh fuck, I know who you are. You're that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Great example is in Breath of the Wild, you get sand and snowshoes from this kind of like creepy nerd weeaboo guy in the desert who's trying to stalk the Gerudo women. And you do a quest with him, and afterwards he gives you 2 pairs of shoes. The sand shoes, so you can run normal speed on sand, which is my normal shoes, because they just look so good. I love those shoes. And then the snowshoes, so you can run normal speed on snow, because your movement speed is cut by like 40% or 35% or whatever in the snow. It's kind of drastic.
Oh yeah, it is terrible.
So in the sequel, you get the boots from the Gerudo town. You get them from the shop, so I guess they became mainstream or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool, whatever. And then later on, I found that creepy dude. He's no longer in that town harassing them, but he's just out and about. And I'm just like, oh fuck, I know you. I'd recognize those stupid glasses anywhere. It's just a great experience because there's not a lot of games where I've ever cared about NPCs.
Right. It's amazing how Nintendo games in general like make you really care and fall in love with their characters. And I think a great example of that is everybody's favorite himbo, Sidon.
Oh yeah, Sidon.
Fucking
I have not
Sidon.
been to the Zora domain yet. I am so excited to go there.
Oh my god.
Currently what I'm doing, I'm trying to finish the Gerudo quest. I just, without spoiling anything, I just got to the temple in the Gerudo area. Or whatever,
Gotcha.
the dungeon, temple, whatever you want to call it. I just got to that stage. I haven't gone in the temple yet, but I'm right at the front door. That's where I last left off. My next plan is to go to the Zora domain. I was going to go to the Zora domain first, but then I remembered, like I had an ADHD moment. I was like, oh, I remembered that I've already committed to helping Riju. I should go back to the Gerudo. I don't want to just, be like, oh, cool, I'll go meet you over here. Fuck you. And just and go help the Zoras instead. And she's like, wait, I heard news that the Zora domain was cleared. Link, you said you were going to help. Oh, I'm sorry.
What the hell, Link? I'm
also
sorry.
Had a glow up. She also had a glow up. Goddamn, is Riju hot?
Oh my god, I haven't gone. I have just entered the Gerudo Desert, so I'm not there yet, but I'm so excited.
Oh, you will be. She is smoking.
Nice. But I love Sidon. Like, without giving it too much spoilers for you, Sidon is still this lovable goofball, and he's just trying his best. He is doing what he does best, and he's just so wonderful. The second he sees you, he's like, best friend Link.
Oh, that's also hits me right, because in Breath of the Wild, for anyone that doesn't know, the game starts kind of 100 years after an event. Link is kind of like in a battle or a war, and he gets hurt, so he has to get put in like a stasis sleep. So he goes to like sleep for like 100 years. And I think exactly 100 years. And then he wakes up, and the world is way different. Things have been buried. People he knew are dead. Everyone he knew is dead. Like, literally everybody. And he just wakes up, and he has also no memories. So he's just like, okay. And then he just is walking around and meeting people and, creating these connections. And he becomes kind of known throughout the kingdom because, he helps revive the divine beasts. He helps people at stables. He helped build Terrytown. He does all of this shit and helps all of Hyrule. And then in the second game, you go missing for just a little bit. They don't tell you exactly how long. I would assume maybe a month or two, but I don't know. I would have to go back to the beginning of the game and look more closely. But at the beginning of the game, you and Zelda are underground exploring underneath the castle, and then something happens, you two get split apart, and again, you get hurt. So, fortunately for you, this time it only takes a fraction of the time, because you have a really, really powerful ally come and help you, restore you. As you've seen in some of the clips and in promotional materials, Link has a prosthetic right arm. So somehow he loses his arm, and this guy who helps you restores your arm and gives you this prosthetic arm, which is now like magical. So after that, I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about the connections that Link has made throughout the kingdom.
Oh yeah. So you wake up and you come back to Hyrule, and everyone immediately is super excited to see you and actually knows who you are. So it's a great change of pace from the first game where nobody knows who you are, and then you come back in this game and everybody's like, Link, fuck, how you been, bro? It's good to see you. And
that's like every Zelda game, because nobody knows who you are in every Zelda game, and in this one, like it is such a pleasant experience to like be loved and missed and just like
recognize people know who you are. Because even in other Zelda sequels, so from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, you go to a completely different dimension. Like, you're not even in the same reality. People definitely don't know you. In Phantom, or in Wind Waker to Wind Waker to Phantom Hourglass, you do have characters that come over. You have Tetra and the pirate crew, but everyone else, they have no idea who you are. That's the only loyalty, is your little crew that you have. And then from Phantom Hourglass to Spirit Tracks, again, everyone gets reset, and the only people you know is a couple of people. So coming to this game, where it's another direct sequel, it is so nice to feel like you're a character. And not just this nameless swordsman who's just walking around helping people. People know who you are.
Right, like you're integral to the world, and it's just so nice. It makes me feel good. Especially like cycling back to Sidon. Sidon was like, best friend Link, and I'm like, I have a best friend.
I have a best friend?
And he loves me.
He's excited to see me?
He is so happy to see me. It makes my little gamer heart feel good. Because it's amazing. It's wonderful. And like the connections you make with characters along the way is super great too. Like Junobo.
He's the son of Daruk, right? The champion from the first game?
Yes.
He's the goofy faced Goron, right?
Yeah, he's a little goofball.
Yeah, the goofball guy, yeah.
Did you get to Death Mountain?
I've been to Death Mountain a couple of times, but I haven't started any of the quests. I've been to Death Mountain to get the flameproof armor, because I 100% completed the underground. I have every light route.
Very nice.
Well, except for two. I don't have the one underneath Hyrule Castle and one directly next to Hyrule Castle. I'm missing both of those because I assume I have to go under Hyrule Castle, and I'm not ready to do that yet.
Right, of course.
So, with the exception of those two, I have 118 light routes. So I have almost all of them.
Nice.
I'd explored all of that first, and then I was traveling underneath Death Mountain, and I'm just traveling through the air on one of my little hoverbike invention things. And suddenly, I just traveled through some hot air, and I love that effect. You're like traveling through the air, and then suddenly, just like the air warps in front of you, and like smoke puffs on you, and it's just like boom. The temperature meter goes to unbearable heat, and I'm just like, crap. And so I just start losing health rapidly as I'm trying to fly to this light route, and I'm like, just make it. And I make it to the light route, and I have only a couple health, so I eat like apples so I don't die before walking to the light route. And then
right, of course.
I get the light route, and as soon as I get it, I fast travel away. And I'm like, okay, so if I'm going to explore this area, either I need to bring a shit ton of health items, or I'm just going to go to Death Mountain and just buy the flame armor. So I went to Death Mountain, and I went there, and I'm looking around, and I see all these Gorons who are just like hypnotized and shit, and I'm like, oh fuck, this isn't good. I gotta come back and address this later.
And I
Like,
walk
a
in.
hero's job is never done.
Yep, I walk into the shop, and the shopkeeper is also hypnotized, and I'm like, can I buy these? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, cool. All right, as long as you're still functioning as a shopkeeper, enjoy your hypnotism.
Right, like I will deal with you later.
I will.
That's like
I promise I'll be back. I don't know when. It might be a couple months, but I'll be back.
That's like I went to Rito Village.
That's the first place I went. That's the first major place I went.
That is a lot of people's first go, and I was
Who
just
doesn't
like,
love
no.
Doritos? Bird people
Doritos
are
are
awesome.
great. Well, the only problem I had with Doritos was in Breath of the Wild. The champion for the Doritos was a dick.
You didn't like Rivali? He's
I
you know, I
did not like Rivali.
I don't
I
like
did not
Rivali.
like Rivali.
I don't like Rivali for the simple reason that I think they could have made Rivali a better character. In my opinion, Rivali is essentially just Falco from Star Fox.
Yeah.
He's just an asshole.
He is the stereotypical rival character that every protagonist in every Japanese media has. He is Gary Oak. He is Falco.
He's just a pompous asshole for no reason.
Exactly.
And a line that perfectly describes it is he's like, "We gotta get up there." Yeah, but you can't fly. I'm like, okay, all right. So we're just gonna be racist.
Right?
All right,
Exactly.
cool, gotcha. And I know it's not that deep, but immediately I was just like, man, fuck you, Rivali.
Yes! I could not stand Rivali. He had just like this arrogant attitude, and I just could not deal with him. I hated him.
I didn't like Rivali, but I loved everyone else. There was the guy that helped you. He was like the champion of the time. The white hair, Tuco, something like that.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
He was the one that just training around and flying in the area with the permanent updraft, and he was training with his bow, and then he's the one that you go up to the Divine Beast with. Yeah,
Not gonna lie, that updraft arena was so cool.
I really like that area. Yeah, I haven't been there yet in Tears of the Kingdom, but I want to go there, and I assume I'll get something, probably a piece of armor or something. I love that there's so much armor, and that's like the rewards for a lot of things.
And there's a lot of callbacks in the armor system.
Yeah, the armor is almost as important as like your items and stuff. I change my armor all the time. Just I'm like, oh, okay, well, I need to climb better. Oh, I need to stop slipping. Oh, I want to be heat resistant. Oh, I need to do more damage.
Swim better.
Yep.
Fire resistant. What is another one?
The lightning proof helmet.
The lightning proof helmet. The warm clothing. So when you're in the
Exactly. You need the warm
regions.
clothing and the hot clothing, so you can get hot and cold without having to carry certain weapons and armor.
The sexy Link outfit. I don't know if that's made it back, but that was a thing in Breath of the Wild.
I don't know if the sexy Gerudo outfit is back, but there is it's arguably a dress. There's a like backless snow dress that gives you additional attack power in cold weather.
Ah, I see. Once his back is exposed,
it's
Link
like
is
it's like a nice fitted
unbeatable.
front, and then it's got like long sleeves that dangle just a little bit, and then in the back it's just like cut open so you can see his back like right until probably where his crack starts.
Oh my
God. It's a nice cut. And it's like, Link, you're wearing like probably a women's dress. And he's like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but look at my attack damage.
Yeah, but look at my power.
Look at these dams.
Do you have a like preferred weapon that you always try to carry with you?
Not that I can think of.
I always try to carry a great boomerang with me.
See, I don't like the boomerangs very much. Like, I just think they're like crappy swords, and I can never catch them when I throw them. So I'm just like, this is a skill issue I'm not going to deal with.
That's why I like the large boomerangs. They're way easier to catch. They're two-handed, and what I usually attach to them, since we have the fusing system, and almost all weapons are kind of shitty unless you fuse them to something else. Because at the beginning of the game, whenever you're underground, the thing that happens to you that makes you lose your arm spreads out throughout the kingdom, and it ruins like all the weapons. So it's the enemy, or it's the antagonist's way of stopping you from fighting back against him. He literally just like sabotages weapons. And so you go through the game and you have all these shitty, rusted, and half-destroyed weapons. And luckily you have a magical hand to fuse things to them. So my go-to fusing is either Lionel horns or diamonds. I've used diamonds to my Great Boomerang. And I love the Great Boomerang because it technically pierces enemies. So you throw it and it can travel through multiple enemies. And if you're running and you can angle it right, you can have it circle back and hit the same enemies multiple times. And if you're just running and spamming the click button or like the grab button, you will catch that boomerang, no problem. I think the window for catching has been extended as another quality of life feature, because in Breath of the Wild the time to catch was very small, but I hardly ever miss my catches in Tears of the Kingdom now. So I think they extended the timer for it.
Okay, maybe I'm just like
you should give boomerangs another try.
I'm going to give boomerangs another try because I think I'm still scarred from Breath of the Wild, where I could not catch a boomerang to save my life.
Boomerangs are really useful because you can fuse things to them, such as like shock fruits or choo-choo jellies and stuff. And then you have a ranged, reusable elemental weapon. Or if you see like an explosive crate, you can fuse the crate to your boomerang and throw the explosive crate at people. And it'll blow up. And since it blows up, it'll stop the boomerang from coming back to you. But what you can do is you can just use rewind and grab your boomerang, and it'll come back to you anyway. So if you ever miss your boomerang, you can just come back boomerang.
I see your point. Something I love, I guess what I do pick up a lot is I pick up sticks. I do pick up a lot of sticks because I fuse them with my drops, and it's just an easy go-to thing.
Have you been?
Oh, my bad. I love fusing the sturdy, thick stick with like the spike ball that you find sometimes.
It's very effective, especially for breaking boulders.
Oh, for breaking armor too. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, like 2 shots to enemies with armor. I totally forgot that was one of the new mechanics. I think I have a clip here of one of them. I'm gonna play this now. I believe you do. So this is right after a Blood Moon respawns, and I just killed this guy, and I'm like, oh shit. Let me re-break this guy's armor because he just respawned. Sneak strike. Didn't one-shot him, unfortunately, so I had to pull out a couple of weapons. I hit him with an icicle club and then a shock club to do the like explosive electric combo. So this guy just kind of had like the worst day of his life because it ended in about 10 seconds. He just respawned from dark magic. He just comes back to life and then suddenly just bonk, bink, blank, and just dies instantly. And he's just like, ugh.
Imagine getting revived just to be Yamcha'd.
That's good.
Oh my god. This game is just magical. I love everything about it. I'm sad to say that I haven't been playing it as much lately just because of just random circumstances. Mm-hmm. But I want to get back into it because it's so good.
It's hard to believe. For me, it's really hard to believe that they pulled it off twice. Breath of the Wild, absolutely.
Right?
I told people for like many times that like if there was one game that I could just be blanked, just out of my memory, like I've never played it, it'd be Breath of the Wild. Because that game is such an incredible experience of just exploration, freedom, and creativity. It was just such a great game. And my whole goal and like wishes for the sequel, once they announced it, was I just want this game again. If you literally just keep the same map and give me a new story, I will love this game. I just want Breath of the Wild again. And the development of Tears of the Kingdom is kind of interesting to me anyway, because the game started as just more DLC for Breath of the Wild.
Right, I did read that too.
They had two shipped DLCs for Breath of the Wild. The Champion's Ballad, which you could use to upgrade all of your magic, and it gave you some items and some cool stuff. And then the second one is the Trial of the Master Sword, where you could go through like this not endless, but this 100 floor dungeon. And if you beat it, then your Master Sword would be permanently upgraded to do double damage and, if I'm not mistaken, never break. So it makes the Master Sword the only weapon you'd ever need. And it objectively is worth the price of it. It's kind of a... You could argue it's a pay to win, but I mean, it's a PvE game, so it's not like you're fighting anybody, whatever. I personally never completed the Trial of the Master Sword because I was basically already done with the game by the time that second DLC came out. I did do the Champion's Ballad. I wanted to upgrade Rivali's Gale from 6-minute cooldown to 3-minute cooldown. Aces. Having that thing always up is amazing. But I never went through and did the Trial of the Master Sword. So it's really, really great that I don't have to, because all of those features have been carried over. And they kept for the third DLC, they're like, okay, so we're gonna start and we're just gonna make like improvements to the game. We're gonna improve the sandbox. I think one of the first things that they developed was the throwing items, because they're like, I mean, people already use items to throw and make traps and, set up chain reactions and stuff. So why not just give them the option to actually throw the items? So then they made that, and then they made this idea, and then they made this idea, and it was kind of the definition of like feature creep. They just kept making things, and they kept making things, and it got to the point where there was so much crap that they just kind of decided, why don't we just ship this out as its own game? We're already using the same engine, we're already using the same map. We have all these ideas to add, like sky area and stuff like that. So why not just make a sequel? We can charge full price for it as long as we implement enough changes to make it worth it.
Full price. They were like, let's charge an extra $10 because this is going to be the shit.
And it absolutely is.
It absolutely is. It was so worth it.
I would have paid $100 for Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good game. It is baffling that they nailed it twice. Breath of the Wild, masterpiece. Tears of the Kingdom, even better. The only thing they took out of the game is something they should have taken out of the game, which was horse sprinting, where you just hold your whistle and just spam the sprint button and you have infinite sprint. They took that out of the game because that was clearly abuse. But everything else got carried over and improved on. I can't think of a single thing that's not better.
Definitely. And I want to bring up like the creations and the constructs that we can make now. People are calling this like Minecraft 2. That is the level of creativity and ingenuity that people are showing off on YouTube right now. Like, I remember seeing a video of like a attack drop ship where this guy built a helicopter that drops off a little robot. It was like, it wasn't even a helicopter. It was like, do you know the dropship from the droids in Star Wars?
The clone ones or the droid ones?
The droid ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like that. And it drops a little robot, and the robot goes on and attacks people. And it is amazing to me, the things that people are coming up with. And it just shows like how well put together this game is, that it fosters that amount of creativity.
So, throughout the game, there are these little, like, gumball dispensers where you can get the machines, and I like that you can tell which machines are going to give you which. So you're like, okay, I need rockets. So you go look at all of the gumball dispensers, and you select the ones that has rockets, and you just get as many of those as you need, which makes it great, because once you start becoming creative with these, like, constructs, you've been underground, right? Yeah, okay. So in the underground, you get a power that is called auto build, which allows you to mega hand things, but like not instantly, but super quick. So the way it works is you select the power, and then it puts out a ring in front of you, and that ring, you can select an item to be built inside of that ring. You can either use a blueprint that you have been given, or you can select up to like 30 of the last built items and save them as favorites. I don't know how many favorites you can have, but you can have favorites, these blueprints, and up to 30 of the last built items for just nearly instant builds. So if you have the items around that need to create the item you want, example, the hover bike. So if you want you need 2 fans and a control stick. If you have those items right around you and you select auto build, the ring will grab those items and craft the item right in front of you, and then you just click build and boop, it glues them together exactly like you want it to. If you don't have the materials, if you don't have the 2 fans and the control stick, auto build will allow you to use what's called zoanite. It is an ore that can be found underground and on certain enemies and in certain locations. It's an ore that can be used as a currency for the auto build. So like a fan costs 3 zoanite, a fan so that hover bike, if you didn't have the items, would cost 9 zoanite. And as long as you have this stuff on hand, you can just build things just out of thin air. So a couple of those things that I have in my favorites are just an auto turret. Really simple. It's one of those spikes that you can glue into walls.
Yeah, like the stakes.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the stakes. So I have a stake, then I have one of the heads that it looks at an enemy and then constantly aims the head at the enemy. And then on top of the head, I just have a cannon. So I just hit the stake and then I just have a little auto turret. Another creation I have is one of the little rover bots. There's a machine that kind of functions like a Roomba. It's got 2 tank treads on it, and whenever you activate it, if there is an enemy in its proximity, it'll constantly travel towards it in a straight line and try to hit it. So you can attach things to it and build kind of what you were mentioning, like a mini tank. One of the ones I have on there is it's one of I don't know. It's like an electric shock emitter. It's a shock emitter.
Mm-hmm.
I have it on the front of it so it can run into people and hit it with the little shock unicorn horn. And then on the top of it, I have a hydrant, so it's just pouring out water. So
nice.
So it runs into the enemies, pours water on them, and shocks them, which makes that big shock effect.
Yeah, the big AOE.
Yeah. So I just have a little tank that goes in and stuns people.
Oh my god, that is amazing.
Yeah, the stake is kind of less useful because you have to auto build it and then mega hand it onto something, stop it, set it up, and then hit it and activate it. The tank is a lot better because you just craft it and then hit it and then it'll go. You don't have to do that. You don't have to. You skip 2 steps. But it's great that you can just have these things just out of nowhere, and there is very, very limited to what you can auto build, what it can auto manufacture. It can manufacture logs, crystals, anything that you've attached to something, you can rebuild it. Now, you can't build quest items. For example, there's shrine quests where you have to find a jade crystal, and then you have to bring the jade crystal to the pedestal. And once you do that, the jade crystal becomes the shrine.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that crystal attached to your hover bike and then you auto build it, it will create a clone of the crystal, but only the original crystal can complete the quest. You can't use the cloned crystal to complete the quest, because otherwise you could just clone a crystal and complete every shrine quest around there that you have to use the crystal for. It would kind of be cheating.
Right.
But you can use the auto build to pick up the crystal and automatically attach it to one of your builds using the real crystal and then carry it to it. So they can just use like a 4-way hover bike and just carry the crystal to places.
Right, I get you. I see that we've gone about an hour and a half. Is there what was the time limit that we decided on?
I don't know. Do you want to wrap?
We might want to wrap this up.
All right.
Any closing thoughts that you want to articulate while we're here?
I think this will be a good game to revisit in the future, because there is so much you haven't experienced and so much I haven't experienced, and we've hardly even touched on the story at all because we don't want to spoil it for each other.
Very true.
I think it would be great to revisit this game, because this is such a good game. I've logged 160 hours in it, and I can't wait to play more of it. It's all I've been playing. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say this is definitely deserving of a part 2, and I am super excited to experience more and talk about more of this with you.
All right. Well, anyone that's been listening, thank you for joining us this week. Next week, we should be recording on Tuesday, and we will have a guest, at Wolves. He's a YouTuber. He mostly plays Modern Warfare and Call of Duties, but he's known for some other things, and lately he's been trying to branch out to other things. His most recent upload was a Gartic phone, where he played a game where you draw things and redraw things with your friends. And I think that was pretty good. It was a nice creative change. So I'm excited to have him on next week.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
All right. Well, we don't have a closing for this show, so we're probably just going to say, have a great day.